that continent has now defined ourselves.
In the news, Senate confirms Nababa as Controller General. Across Africa, Hotel Rwanda hero absent in court for trial. And in business, CBN's Naira for Dollar scheme attracts $40 million remittances in a week. On the global scene, Angela Merkel cancels Germany Easter lockdown rules. In sports, Edo to camp Team Nigeria for Olympic Games. Details shortly. This is TOS Television, your digital-first Pan-African news network. I am Rose Audu, and this is TOS News 360. The Senate this Wednesday confirmed the appointment of Haliru Nababe as the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service. The action came on the heel of the report by the Senate Committee on Interior, which screened Nababe under the chairmanship of Senator Kashim Shettima. President Muhammad Buhari, in a letter on February 23, asked the Senate to confirm the appointment of Nababe as the CG of the NCS. The President directive, which was contained in a letter, was read at plenary by the Senate President Ahmad Lawan. A federal high court sitting in Lagos has ordered an extension of the deadline to link national identification number with SIM by 2 months, effective from Tuesday, March 23, 2021. Justice Maureen Oyetonu ordered the extension on Tuesday while ruling on a lawsuit filed by the former vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Ubani filed a lawsuit against the federal government, Attorney General of the Federation, Nigerian Communications Commission, and a Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami. In December of 2020, Ubani filed a suit over the initial deadline of December 30 of 2021 set for SIM registration. He argued that the initial 2-week given by the federal government to telecommunication operators for NIM registration will infringe on the fundamental human rights of Nigerians and expose them to COVID-19. As the call for gender inclusivity increases, women have also begun amplifying the call for an increased number of their counterparts in politics and government. These, among others, was the focus of the meeting on the 65th session on the United Nations Status of Women. TOS television correspondent Sagir Ibrahim tells us more.
Statistics has shown that the national average of women's participation in politics in Nigeria is less than 7% in both elective and appointive positions. This is far below the global average of 22.5%, Africa's regional average of 23.4%, and the West African sub-regional average of 15%. Women have been perceived as second-class citizens, not just by men alone, but also by women themselves who do not believe that they have the capacity to lead politically. To stem this tide, however, the United Nations UN Women, in collaboration with women stakeholders drawn from the government, legislature, and civil society, are championing the cause for the involvement of more women in public life and their equal participation in decision-making, as well as ending violence against women.
Civil society has a role to play in terms of advocating to key stakeholders, decision makers like members of the National Assembly, the executive government, and also reaching out to political parties to ensure that political parties open up the space for women and play politics in such a way that it will be all-inclusive.
In terms of 2023 and encouraging young women, I think the issue of violence is actually quite important, and we need to raise the profile of having that conversation, because a lot of women are worried, and I've heard stories from women who've gone before them who've had to face violence, had to deal with threats, and they're not sure how they're going to handle that. And I think we can't just give them information to say that we went through it, you'll be fine if you go through it.
The stakeholders, who spoke during a meeting on the 65th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, organized by the UN Women, pledged to show support for more women who intend to vie for elective positions.
There are two critical things that are ongoing now, and that's the amendment of the party constitutions and the amendment of the Nigerian Constitution. Until we get it right, all other things to get more women in the National Assembly will be a futile effort.
Mobilize and encourage, especially young women, to register as voters, not only register as voters, but to also actively engage in politics, by also being political party members so that they can start building themselves early on now. They don't have to wait till 10 years from now, 5 years from now before they can engage.
They also called for a need to educate women at a young age on the importance of political participation.
Maybe we need to revisit some of the way we communicate these issues. One, the issue of quotas. When you talk to the male leaders, they could say, "No, if you give 30% to the women, then it's not fair to the men," and then they compete with us on the other 70%. And my initial response was, "Well, then why don't we all have 30-30 locked? And then you compete over 40% of the votes." That removes this idea that the quotas are only for men.
We still have people at the grassroots who still believe that women belong to the kitchen and should not run for political office. And we have CSOs that work in the grassroots, so they will play a critical role in trying to mobilize people at the grassroots and also try to change those negative stereotypes of women in leadership.
They, however, called on other stakeholders, including the government, to play its part in ensuring that women's voices are amplified and more women participate in politics and governance. Sagir Ibrahim, TOS Television News.
Some Nigerians in the FCT have reacted to the federal government responses to the fight against the novel coronavirus. The Nigeria's Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire, reported the country's first index case on the 27th of February of 2020. The case is an Italian citizen who works in Nigeria and returned from Milan, Italy to Lagos, Nigeria on the 25th of February 2020. 1 year after the virus was reported in Nigeria, some citizens believed the federal government, through its presidential task force with the help of the frontline health workers, played a vital role in curtailing the spread of the virus in the country. As the saying goes, there is always two sides to a coin. While some are of the opinion that the federal government carried out proactive steps to mitigate the spread of the virus in the country, another group is of the belief that the government needed to do more, as according to them, the citizens were subjected to hunger and hardship during the period of lockdown, making references to looted COVID-19 palliatives. According to them, the government failed the people at the time of a global pandemic. TOS News sampled the opinion of these Nigerians, and the findings are quite revealing.
Yes, they have done well in the sense of providing.
Federal government in the area of sensitization, they tried by making sure that people adhere to the non-pharmaceutical measures by wearing face masks, washing hands, keeping a social distance. A lot of information, we went on, people were carried along.
There was lockdown for over 2 months, and a lot of people are at home, and less palliative for people. Let me give, for example, the Okada riders, the low-income earners. Those people are left out of it. If you don't know anybody in government, or you're not in government, you don't have anything to eat or to take home. Secondly, the money budgeted for all these COVID tests and all other things, I don't think the government made judicious use of it.
There was a disconnect originally. In fact, Nigerians at the time could not really trust the government. The government was trying to explain, what the COVID-19 really is to Nigerians about 1 year ago. But the disconnect was there were some states that came up with a lot of individuals coming to testify that they were being offered money to say they were COVID-19 positive and all that. So people...
Meanwhile, the federal government has said that it will step up its action plan towards the detection and treatment of the tuberculosis disease. The Minister of Health, who was represented by the Minister of State for Health, Olarunimbe Mamara, stated this during the launch of the Unified National Tuberculosis Campaign, as well as the advocacy, communication and social mobilization guidelines in Abuja. The minister noted that Nigeria has stepped up its TB response in line with the commitments made by President Muhammadu Buhari to end tuberculosis at the first ever United Nations high-level meeting on tuberculosis in September of 2018. He, however, added that despite the successes gained in the fight against the disease, more stakeholders need to come on board to attain a TB-free Nigeria.
Nigeria is also on the list of the 14 countries with the triple burden of tuberculosis. In furtherance to our robust public-private mixed engagement plan, we have now scaled up to all states. This has demonstrated incremental value to TB notification from 12% private sector contribution in 2018 to as high as 45% in some states.
Notwithstanding these challenges, we have made remarkable progress in our TB control efforts since inception of the National Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control Program in 1989. This progress is, however, not without the support of our esteemed partners. One key area of success for the NTBLCP program is on rapid expansion of TB preventive, diagnostic and treatment services to both facilities and communities across the country.
It is on record that Nigeria recorded a 50% increase in TB case notification in 2020, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Tuberculosis is one of the 10 causes of death worldwide, and the leading cause of death for single infection agent. For example, HIV is above TB. Globally, there are an estimate of 10 million people in TB in 2019, with Nigeria as 7 and 7 other countries among Nigeria account for the 2/3 of the global total population in TB cases.
This is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. You're watching TOS News 360. More stories after the break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. The Association of Bureau the Change Operators of Nigeria has demanded for the immediate release of their members who are alleged were arrested and detained by the Department of State Security Services. Counsel to the APCON, Riwan Idris, who made the demand while addressing journalists in Abuja, called on the DSS to immediately release his clients, adding that their arrest and detention is illegal. He noted that a total of 26 APCON operators who were invited for questioning from their bases in Kano, Yola, Sokoto, Minna, and Lagos 2 weeks ago are yet to be charged to court, which is a breach of their fundamental human rights. He added that although they had written a letter to the DSS to confirm the whereabouts of the detained members, they were yet to get a response, and all efforts to reach them had remained futile. And Clean Foundation, in collaboration with the National Human Rights Commission during stakeholders dialogue with the theme, Crisis of Missing Persons, Taking Stock and Charting Way Forward, at a Zoom meeting said it has drawn up strategies targeted at ending the challenges of missing persons in Africa and Nigeria in particular. The Executive Director of Clean Foundation, Benson Olubo, said the meeting focuses at exposing challenges of missing persons in Nigeria and the application of advanced technology at improving the numerous challenges that missing persons are faced with. In his opening remarks, the Executive Director of Clean Foundation, Benson Olubo, said Nigeria has more than 90% caseload of missing persons in Africa as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeastern part of the country and other related cases of insecurity.
This webinar aims to tackle the problems of disappeared people in Nigeria from a multidimensional approach, and it addresses the pitfalls of legal processes, the ways in which the families, non-profit organizations and collectives work towards finding the truth. This webinar will offer an opportunity to those involved in the plights of families looking for their loved ones to tackle the strengths and weaknesses that Nigerian law and Nigerian legal systems have in investigating, prosecuting, and adjudicating these cases.
Analysts at the meeting shared their concerns on the challenges of missing persons in the country and charted way forward on finding
whereabouts of their loved ones. The Commission has been working assiduously to ensure that missing persons are properly documented and that information on their fate can be obtained and made known to their loved ones where possible.
In Mexico, there are more than 79,000 people that are missing since 2006. There are 275 dead. These are often at the hands of powerful drug cartels and their allies, and very much differently from Nigeria, there are also often the involvement of armed forces and in some cases police as well. Mexico has addressed the issue of the disappeared by promulgating a law on enforced disappearances in 2017. The implementation of this law began in 2019 with the establishment of a national search commission.
It will grow in an organic sort of way. So when we do our trainings, we make explicit efforts to include community members and make them feel welcomed, make sure that their concerns about the technology are addressed so that sustainable community of practice is something that we hope will develop. And I'll end it with that.
The first step is for citizens in Nigeria to hold the government accountable to implement a legislation where all this database, centralized database can be put into place.
The stakeholders are therefore soliciting cooperation of well-meaning Nigerians, key stakeholders, government at all levels, security agencies to come together and find a lasting solution to the plight of missing persons in Africa with Nigeria in focus. Rose Audu, reporting for TOS News, Abuja. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has raised alarm that the water level across the world ocean, including the one along the coastal belt of Nigeria, has been rising due to changing climate. The Director General, Chief Executive Officer of NIMET, Professor Mansour Bako Matazu, told newsmen in Abuja in commemoration of World Meteorological Day that the implication is increasing danger of coastal erosions, storm surges, stronger ocean waves, and swells exacerbated by global temperature increase. He explained that the theme of this year's WMD is the ocean climate and weather. The science of weather and climate is never complete without adequate knowledge and reference to the ocean. And the Nigerian Customs Service, Ogun Area 1 Command, Idurokol, on Wednesday arraigned 4 members of a smuggling syndicate before the Federal High Court sitting in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, for importing foreign rice into the country without payment of the approved import duties. The 4 suspects, Aziz Zonu, Ebenezer Adeyemi, Adeni Olalekon, and Salahuddin Tayek, were arraigned on a 5-count charge bordering on smuggling, evasion of import duties, possession of smuggled items, as well as assisting in smuggling, among others. In the charge sheet preferred against them with suit numbers FHC/AB/73C/2021 and FHC/AB/74C/2021 and FHC/AB/75C/2021 and FHC/AB/71C/21 respectively. The accused persons were allegedly caught with several bags of foreign rice imported into Nigeria with motorcycles and cars through unapproved routes for the purpose of evading payment of the stipulated import duties. And the federal government and the Switzerland government have inaugurated a Blue Belts project in commemoration of the country's 10th anniversary in migration partnership to control irregular migration in the country. Hajia Sadiaf Umar Farouk at the inaugural ceremony on Tuesday in Abuja expressed pleasure on the uniqueness of the decade-long exemplary relationship between Nigeria and Switzerland on migration. This is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. You're still watching TOS News 360. Stories from across Africa in a moment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. A high court in Rwanda has decided to continue with the terrorism trial of a man portrayed as a hero in a 2004 Hollywood movie about the Rwanda genocide. Earlier this month, Paul Rusesabagina said he would not appear in court again as he did not expect justice. On Wednesday, the court said the trial would continue even if he would not appear without valid reasons. The judge said Rusesabagina still had a right to reappear in court before the trial is concluded. And 18 men who were believed to have been held by Uganda's security services have been freed and allowed to return to their villages. The men were arrested in the run-up to the elections in January and said they did not know where they were held. It is believed that hundreds of opposition activists and campaigners from across the country were picked up during the election campaign. The government admits it is holding more than 200 people on charges related to violent acts during the election. And this is a TOS Television Network News, as the news will continue shortly after this timeout. Welcome back. 18 men who were believed to have been held by Uganda's security services have been freed and allowed to return to their villages. The men were arrested in the run-up to the elections in January and said they did not know where they were held. It is believed that hundreds of opposition activists and campaigners from across the country were picked up during the election campaign. The government admits it is holding more than 200 people on charges related to violent acts during the elections, but many still remain unaccounted for and are believed to be still in the hands of the security services. After the release, some of the men told the BBC that they had been dumped by security services in different parts of Kiltera district, south of Kampala, late on Monday night. One of the men, John Kwanuka, was thought to be dead as a significant amount of blood was found in his bedroom after his arrest in January. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed conferred for the first time on Tuesday in a wide-ranging speech to Parliament that troops from neighboring Eritrea entered the northern Tigray region during the conflict that broke out 5 months ago, suggesting they may have been involved in abuses against civilians. The governments of both Eritrea and Ethiopia repeatedly denied Eritrea's involvement in the war, despite reports from rights groups which documented the killings of hundreds of civilians by Eritrean soldiers in the holy city of Uzum. He also acknowledged for the first time that atrocities like rape had been committed during the fighting and promised the perpetrators would be punished. Meanwhile, Kenyan authorities have given the UN Refugee Agency a 14-day ultimatum to close one of the world's largest refugee camps. Local newspaper Daily Nation reports, quoting officials, the government has threatened to forcibly repatriate Somali refugees living at Daba camp to the border if the deadline elapses. The newspaper reports it also wants UNHRC to shut down the Kukuma camp in the northwest Kenya. It's citing national security threat posed by some of the refugees that it says are linked to the Somali-based militant group Al-Shabaab. Meanwhile, sources say the Central Bank of Nigeria's Naira for Dollar scheme may have attracted about $40 million in foreign remittances in 1 week. Remittances through commercial banks have increased in response to the Naira for Dollar scheme, and last week the CBN received a second $40 million from remittances. This is up from about $6 million received before the policy was introduced. At this rate of $40 million a week, the CBN could attract about $160 million a month or $1.9 billion yearly, higher than the estimated $1.1 billion received in 2020 from diaspora remittances. And this is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Televisions. You are still watching TOS News 360. Do stay with us. Welcome back, and still in business, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has said during a virtual interactive session that Nigeria's post-COVID-19 priorities would be focusing on economic and health sustainability. He said these priorities would include restoration of economic growth in the immediate term, building of resilience in the health sector, and repositioning of the economy on a sustainable footing in the medium term. All this will be done while saving jobs and building domestic capacity and local production in critical areas. The Vice President assured that the Nigerian government's response to challenges brought about by COVID-19 are aimed at ensuring lasting socio-economic recovery and growth. For emphasis, he highlighted the significant impact of the Muhammadu Buhari's administration economic sustainability plan and the work being done by government to improve broadband connectivity and expand the country's national identity base as a way of aiding the country to respond to the negative effects of the pandemic. A 15-point agenda has been set by the leadership of the Nigerian Society of Engineers of Victoria Island branch to enable the government at all levels to develop the oil and gas sector. The agenda set in a communique issued at a symposium urged the government, professional bodies and non-governmental organizations to ensure social reorientation on citizens' mindsets concerning infrastructure ownership. It must be viewed as a collective responsibility of government, citizens, investors, and users. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel rescinded her earlier orders to impose a strict lockdown in the country over the Easter holiday. Merkel says the planned 5-day lockdown was a mistake. The U-turn came after a hastily arranged crisis meeting over a video conference on Wednesday with Germany's assistant state governors who are responsible for imposing and lifting restrictions. The German leaders had previously agreed that almost all shops were to be closed from April 1 to 5, with only grocers allowed to open on Saturday, April 3. Hundreds of protesters detained for protesting last month's military takeover have been freed by Myanmar's junta on Wednesday in the commercial hub, Yangon. There were 360 men and 268 women. Aung San Suu Kyi, the ousted prime minister, was due to have court hearing on Wednesday in Nadol, the city's capital, on account of criminal charges which could end her political career, but her lawyer says the hearing has been adjourned to the 1st of April because of problems with video conferencing caused by a junta-imposed internet shutdown. Meanwhile, Myanmar security forces shot dead a 7-year-old girl in the city of Mandalay on Tuesday, the youngest victim yet in the military's bloody crackdown on civilian opposition to the February 1 coup. The young girl was killed in her home during a military raid according to advocacy group Assistant Association for Political Prisoners. And 6 boats with 183 migrants on board reached the United Kingdom after crossing the English Channel on Tuesday. The figure is the highest daily number so far this year and is just under the total in the whole of March 2020, when 187 people made the crossing. About 850 people have made the crossing so far this year, compared to 338 in the same period in 2020. More than 8,438 people crossed the English Channel in about 635 boats in 2020. The government is planning to take it more difficult for asylum seekers to stay in the UK if they come illegally. On the new plans are being set out by the government, people seeking protection as refugees will have their claim assessed based on how they arrive in the UK. Also, people who enter the UK illegally to claim asylum will no longer have the same entitlement as those who arrived legally. And this is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. You're watching TOS News 360. Up next, entertainment and sports. Welcome back. On entertainment, Grammys winner Burna Boy has displayed top-notch artistry in the visuals to 23, the 10th track of his award-winning album Twice as Tall. The music video was released over a week after Burna Boy won the coveted Grammys. Burna Boy gets to the heart of the matter in the sober and reflective tune, which alluded to Michael Jordan's basketball jersey number 23, passing the message of impossible is nothing. The music video director narrates different impossibilities becoming possibilities. And the national camp for the forthcoming Tokyo Olympics Games will be set in Edo State to allow contingents for the Games to take advantage of the world-class Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, Benin City, and other facilities built by the Governor Godwin Obaseki-led administration for their preparation. Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare disclosed this to journalists during a visit to Edo State ahead of the National Sports Festival, scheduled to take place in the state between April 2nd and 14th. Dare, who expressed satisfaction with the quality and standard of sporting facilities in the state, noted that the revamp of Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium and other facilities has raised the bar for sports development for other states in Nigeria. He stated that Edo was the best place to host a contingent. Meanwhile, Everton midfielder Alex Iwobi is set against the Benin Republic in this weekend's AFCON 2021 qualifiers in Port Novo. The former Arsenal striker said in Lagos yesterday that he was ready to play in any position signed to him by coach Janet Raw. Anywhere I am told to play, I am going to play, he stated. He is optimistic that the Eagles can record victory away against the visitors, while also looking forward to playing in Lagos when the Eagles welcome Lesotho to Lagos on March 30. An Africa legend and four-time African Footballer of the Year, Samuel Eto'o, believes the first FIFA World Cup in the Middle East, Qatar 2022, would be the best ever. Speaking during a virtual media roundtable for the Olympic Games, adding, "There is no better place to host Nigerian athletes for the Tokyo Olympic Games than Edo State. The state already has the facilities and the national camp will be set up in Edo State." Organized by the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy for the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, Eto'o noted that the oil-rich country is hosting the Mundial as a gift to the rest of the world, adding the stadia and infrastructure being put in place for the event are outstanding and spectacular. Personally, I think Qatar is hosting the 2022 World Cup as a gift to the world, and I don't want to look at the financial implication of hosting the tournament because it's like giving a gift to your wife. You don't look at the cost, explained the Cameroonian who now resides in Qatar. And that is TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com and do follow and like TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. Do stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS Television. I am Rose Aldu, and thanks for watching.
But we as a continent have now